Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. Success is not about luck. It's not about being born into the right family. Success is a mindset. It's a lifestyle. And most importantly, it's about the things you stop doing just as much as the things you start doing. Excuses are the number one killer of dreams. They sound good, they feel good in the moment, but they do absolutely nothing for you. People make excuses because they don't want to face the truth, because it's easier to blame something else than to take responsibility. But let me tell you something. Every single person who has ever made it big, who has ever done something great, had every reason to make excuses too. They just chose not to. You ever notice how the people who always have an excuse are the same ones who never seem to make progress? They blame the economy, their childhood, their boss, their spouse, their lack of education, the government, the weather, anything but themselves. And as long as they keep pointing fingers, they stay stuck in the same place year after year, wondering why their life isn't changing. But successful people, they refuse to give their power away like that. Life ain't fair. That's a fact. Some people are born with advantages. Others have to fight for everything they get. But at the end of the day, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you success on a silver platter. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you take control of your life. You have to look in the mirror and say, it's on me. My success, my future, my happiness, it's up to me. And when you do that, things start to change. Think about it like this. If two people go through the exact same struggle, one can use it as fuel, while the other uses it as an excuse. One person fails and says, well, I tried, but I guess it wasn't meant to be. The other person fails and says, all right, what did I learn? How can I do better next time? The difference isn't in their situation, it's in their mindset. Excuses will always be available. They will always be right there, ready to give you an easy way out. But if you want to be successful, you have to shut that door. You have to replace excuses with action. Instead of saying, I don't have time, make time. Instead of saying, I don't have the money, figure out a way to start with what you do have. Instead of saying, I don't know how, start learning. Every excuse has a solution if you're willing to find it. The truth is, people who make excuses are choosing comfort over growth. Because let's be honest, excuses feel good. They let you off the hook. They allow you to stay where you are without feeling guilty about it. But nothing great comes from comfort. Growth requires discomfort. Success requires sacrifice. And you can't move forward if you're too busy explaining why you're stuck. So the next time you catch yourself making an excuse, stop, catch it, challenge it. Instead of saying, I can't, ask yourself, how can I? Instead of saying, I don't have what it takes, remind yourself that every successful person started somewhere. If they could do it, why not you? The only thing standing between you and success is the story you keep telling yourself. Change that story and you change your life. Failure is not the end, it's just a chapter in the story of success. Too many people see failure as a stop sign, as proof that they weren't meant to succeed. But the truth is, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of it. Every successful person you admire has failed, not once, not twice, but probably more times than they can count. The difference is they didn't let failure define them. They used it, learned from it, and kept going. Think about a child learning to walk. That baby doesn't just stand up one day and start running. No, they fall a lot. They take a step, stumble, fall flat on their face, then try again. They don't sit there and think, well, I guess walking isn't for me. They don't get embarrassed or worried about what people will think. They just keep trying until they get it. And that's exactly how success works. But somewhere along the way, we grow up and start thinking that failure means we're not good enough, that we should quit. We start worrying about people laughing at us, about looking stupid. So instead of pushing through failure, we avoid it altogether. We stop taking risks, stop trying new things, and play it safe because we're afraid to fail. But let me tell you something. If you're not failing, you're not growing. Failure is a lesson, a teacher, a necessary step. It's where you find out what doesn't work, where you discover what you need to improve. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who failed the most and kept going anyway. They saw every failure as feedback, as information that helped them get better. People who are afraid to fail never get anywhere. They stay stuck in the same place, doing the same things, living the same life, because they don't want to take a risk. They don't want to look foolish. But here's the reality. Failure is not what holds people back. The fear of failure is what keeps people stuck. The ones who succeed are the ones who stop letting that fear control them. Failure is uncomfortable. It's frustrating. It can knock the wind out of you. But if you let it, it can also be the thing that makes you stronger. Every time you fail, you learn something new. You learn what doesn't work, what you need to change, and what you need to do differently next time. That's why failure isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Think about it like this. If you try something and fail, you're still further ahead than the person who never tried at all, because now you know something you didn't know before. Now you have experience. Now you have wisdom. Every time you fall, you get up smarter, tougher, and better prepared. So instead of avoiding failure, chase it. Go after big dreams. Take risks. Put yourself out there, because every failure brings you one step closer to success. The only real failure is giving up. As long as you keep going, you're still in the game. And if you stay in the game long enough, success will come. It has no choice. Negative people are like weights tied to your ankles while you're trying to run a race. No matter how hard you push, no matter how fast you try to go, they keep dragging you down. They fill your mind with doubt, they drain your energy, and they make you question yourself. And the worst part, most of the time, they don't even realize they're doing it. Some of them are just stuck in their own negativity and they don't know any other way to be. Others, they don't want to see you succeed because it reminds them of everything they're not doing. Have you ever shared a big idea or a dream with someone only for them to shoot it down immediately? You tell them what you want to do, and instead of supporting you, they list every possible way it could go wrong. That's too risky. People like us don't do things like that. What if you fail? They plant these little seeds of doubt in your mind, and if you're not careful, those seeds start to grow. You start believing them. You start hesitating. You start holding yourself back, and before you know it, you're stuck in the same negative cycle they're in. See, negativity is contagious. Just like spending time around positive, motivated people can lift you up, spending time around negative people will pull you down. It's like secondhand smoke. You don't have to be the one smoking to be affected by it. Their doubts, their fears, their small-minded thinking. It starts rubbing off on you, and before you know it, you're thinking just like them. And let's be real, some of these negative people might be close to you. They might be family members, childhood friends, co-workers you've known for years, and that makes it hard because you don't want to cut people off. But you have to ask yourself, is this person adding to my life? Or are they holding me back? Are they encouraging me to be better, or are they keeping me stuck in the same place? Because successful people, they don't entertain negativity. They don't waste energy arguing with people who don't believe in them. They don't sit around complaining about life or listening to others complain. They surround themselves with winners, with go-getters, with people who challenge them to be better. They know that energy is everything. And if they let the wrong people into their circle, it can cost them their future. You have to protect your mind like you protect your home. If someone showed up at your front door, tracking mud all over your floors, you wouldn't just let them keep walking around messing up your house. So why do we let negative people track their toxic thoughts all over our minds? You have to start setting boundaries. That doesn't mean you have to be rude or cut people off completely, but you do need to be intentional about who you give your time and energy to, because at the end of the day, your environment shapes you. If you hang around 5 successful people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 complainers, 5 people who blame the world for their problems, 5 people who never take action, you'll become just like them. You have to choose wisely. The world is already tough enough. Life will throw challenges at you, obstacles, struggles. That's just part of the journey. The last thing you need is people making it harder by filling your mind with doubt and negativity. If someone isn't pushing you forward, they're holding you back. And if they're holding you back, you have to make a choice, your future or their company, because you can't have both. Comfort zones are like cages, but the tricky part is that the door is wide open. You just have to be willing to step out. The problem is most people don't even realize they're trapped. They settle into routines, get used to a certain way of living, and before they know it, they've built a life that feels safe but stagnant. They convince themselves that they're happy where they are, but deep down, there's a nagging feeling that something is missing. That feeling, that's growth calling you. That's the part of you that knows you were made for more. Growth and comfort do not exist in the same space. If you are comfortable, you are not growing. If you are growing, you are not comfortable. It's as simple as that. Every successful person you see had to step into the unknown, had to do something that scared them, had to take a risk, because that's where real progress happens, when you push yourself beyond what's familiar. Think about it. Every major achievement in life requires stepping out of your comfort zone. If you want to build a successful business, you have to take risks. If you want to get in the best shape of your life, you have to push through the discomfort of workouts. If you want to be a great speaker, you have to be willing to stumble through your first few speeches. There's no shortcut around it. You have to go through the discomfort to reach the success on the other side. But most people don't want to deal with that. They want the rewards without the struggle. They want to be great without being uncomfortable. And that's why so many people stay stuck. They don't realize that avoiding discomfort is the very thing keeping them from the life they want. See, the comfort zone is sneaky. It feels safe, it feels warm, but it's actually keeping you small. It's that voice in your head that says, stay here. Don't take that risk. What if you fail? What if people judge you? And the moment you listen to that voice, you lose. Because the longer you stay in your comfort zone, the harder it is to leave. You start settling, you stop pushing, and before you know it, you're living a life that's miles away from what you're truly capable of. The craziest part, most of the time, the fear of stepping out of your comfort zone is way worse than the actual experience. You spend so much time overthinking, worrying, making up worst-case scenarios in your head. But the second you actually do the thing you were afraid of, you realize it wasn't nearly as bad as you thought. And more importantly, you realize you're stronger than you gave yourself credit for. Every time you step outside of your comfort zone, you expand your limits. What once felt scary becomes your new normal. The things that used to intimidate you start to feel easy. And before you know it, you're operating at a whole new level. That's how growth works. It's a constant process of pushing past what's familiar, of challenging yourself, of doing things that make you uncomfortable until they don't anymore. If you want a different life, if you want bigger opportunities, if you want to achieve things you've never achieved before, you have to start doing things you've never done before. You have to stop letting comfort lull you into mediocrity, because comfort zones might feel safe, but nothing ever grows there. The life you want, it's on the other side of fear. The question is, are you willing to step out and get it? Fear is one of the biggest liars you will ever face in your life. It whispers in your ear, telling you that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. It convinces you that if you try, you'll fail, that if you step out, you'll embarrass yourself, that if you take a risk, everything will fall apart. But let me tell you something, fear is not real. It exists only in your mind. And the only power it has is the power you give it. Fear doesn't come from truth. It comes from doubt, from insecurity, from that little voice inside you that wants to keep you small. And the crazy thing is, most of the things you're afraid of will never even happen. How many times have you been scared to do something only to realize later that it wasn't nearly as bad as you made it out to be? You worried, you stressed, you lost sleep over it, and in the end, it turned out fine. That's fear's greatest trick. It makes you believe in problems that don't even exist. Think about all the opportunities fear has stolen from you, the times you wanted to speak up but didn't, the times you wanted to take a chance but backed down, the dreams you let sit on the shelf because fear convinced you that you weren't ready. And what did you gain from playing it safe? Nothing, because fear doesn't just stop you from failing, it stops you from living. The most successful people in the world are not fearless. They feel fear just like everyone else, but they don't let it control them. They know that fear is just a signal, a test, a challenge to overcome. They understand that fear only has power if you listen to it. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck. One faces their fears, the other runs from them. Fear will try to tell you that you're not capable. It will remind you of every mistake you've ever made, every failure, every time things didn't go your way. But fear never tells the whole story. It doesn't remind you of the times you overcame. It doesn't remind you of your resilience, your strength, your ability to learn and grow. It only focuses on the negative because fear thrives on doubt. Here's the truth. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Every goal, every dream, every new level of success requires you to push past that fear and take action anyway. Fear is always going to be there trying to hold you back, but you have to ask yourself, is fear going to run my life or am I? Because fear will keep you in the same place forever if you let it. It will steal your potential, your happiness, and your future. Fear tells you to wait until you're ready, but guess what? You will never feel fully ready. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting forever. Fear says, what if you fail? But you should be asking, what if I succeed? Fear says, what if people judge me? But you need to realize that people are going to judge you no matter what. You might as well give them something worth talking about. So the next time fear tries to stop you, recognize it for what it is, a liar. And the best way to shut fear up, take action. Do the thing it's telling you not to do. Because the moment you take action, fear loses its grip. The more you face it, the weaker it gets. And one day you'll look back and realize that fear was never real to begin with. It was just an illusion standing between you and the life you were meant to live. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to rob yourself of happiness. It sneaks in quietly, making you look at what someone else has, what they're doing, where they are in life. And suddenly, everything you've worked for, everything you've accomplished doesn't seem good enough. You could have been feeling proud of yourself 5 minutes ago, but the moment you see someone else with more, doing more, achieving more, doubt creeps in. That's how comparison works. It makes you focus on what you lack instead of what you have. And in today's world, it's easier than ever to fall into that trap. Everywhere you look, there's someone posting their highlight reel, showing off the best parts of their life, new cars, big houses, vacations, promotions, relationships that seem perfect. And if you're not careful, you start measuring your life against their carefully curated moments. But what you don't see is the struggle, the sacrifices, the behind-the-scenes work. You don't see the failures, the doubts, the nights they wanted to quit. You're comparing your real life to someone else's filtered version, and that's never a fair fight. The truth is, there will always be someone ahead of you. No matter how much success you achieve, no matter how much money you make, no matter how much you grow, there will always be someone doing more. If you base your happiness on being the best, on having the most, on staying ahead of everyone else, you will never be satisfied. Because the goalposts will keep moving, and it's not just about money or status. Comparison can creep into every area of your life. You compare your body to someone else's and suddenly feel insecure. You compare your relationship to someone else's and start questioning your own. You compare your career to someone else's and start feeling like a failure, even if you've made real progress. It doesn't matter how far you've come. Comparison can make you feel like you've done nothing at all. But here's the thing. Your journey is your own. Your path is unique. The experiences, the lessons, the struggles, they are shaping you into the person you're meant to be. When you waste time looking at someone else's race, you lose focus on your own. And that's how people get stuck. Instead of moving forward, they stand still, looking around, worried about what everyone else is doing. Successful people don't waste time comparing themselves to others. They focus on becoming better than they were yesterday. They celebrate their wins, no matter how small. They understand that real happiness doesn't come from being the best. It comes from growth, from progress, from knowing you are doing the work to create the life you want. The only person you should be competing with is yourself. Instead of asking, why am I not where they are? Ask, am I further than I was last year? Instead of saying, I wish I had what they have, say, how can I make the most of what I have? Because when you stop looking sideways and start focusing forward, that's when real success happens. Comparison is a trap, and it will steal every bit of joy if you let it. The only way to win is to stop playing the game. Focus on your journey, appreciate your progress, and remember that nobody else's success takes away from your own. Stay in your lane, run your race, and trust that your time is coming. Because when you finally let go of comparison, you realize you were already winning all along. Never stop learning. These 3 words hold more power than most people realize. Learning isn't something that ends when you graduate, when you land your first job, or when you reach a certain age. It's a lifelong process, and the people who succeed, the ones who continuously grow, are those who embrace this truth. Because the world doesn't stop changing, and neither should you. Every day is an opportunity to become better, smarter, more skilled, more aware. And if you ever think that you've learned enough, that you've reached the peak of your potential, that's the moment you start slipping backward. The truth is, we're never done learning. If you think about it, the world is full of possibilities, full of new knowledge waiting to be discovered and skills waiting to be mastered. If you think you know everything or that you're too old to learn something new, you're shutting the door on growth. It doesn't matter how much experience you have. There's always something new to discover, a new way to improve, a new idea to explore. The best part, learning doesn't always happen in formal settings like classrooms or books. It happens everywhere, in the conversations you have, in the challenges you face, in the mistakes you make. Some people fall into the trap of thinking that once they've reached a certain point in life, there's no need to keep learning. But the reality is, the more you stop learning, the more you become stagnant. The world is moving faster than ever. And if you're not actively working to keep up, you'll fall behind. Industries are evolving, technology is advancing, ideas are changing. And if you don't stay open to learning, you'll miss out on opportunities and become irrelevant. Learning isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about growing as a person. It's about becoming adaptable, being able to look at a situation and say, what can I learn from this? It's about developing new perspectives, expanding your horizons, and constantly challenging yourself to be better. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know. And that's where the magic happens. Because the more you realize you don't know, the more curious you become. And curiosity drives success. One of the most powerful aspects of never stopping learning is that it keeps you humble. It reminds you that there's always more to discover. People who think they know it all are the ones who stop growing. They think they've reached their peak, and as a result, they stop pushing themselves. They stop trying new things, and their world becomes smaller and smaller. But when you're always learning, your world expands. You stay open to new opportunities, new connections, and new experiences. There's also the idea that learning can happen through mistakes and failures. In fact, some of the best lessons come from our failures, but if you're not willing to learn from them, you'll keep making the same mistakes over and over. Learning from failure means not getting discouraged when things don't go your way, but rather using those experiences to fuel your growth. Every failure is an opportunity to learn something new about yourself, about the world, and about how to improve. Never stop learning, because without it, life becomes routine, it becomes predictable, the spark fades, and your passion wanes. But when you keep learning, you keep your mind sharp and your spirit alive. You start to see new possibilities, new paths, and new ways of doing things. You open doors that you didn't even know existed. And most importantly, you stay engaged in life, excited for what each new day can teach you. Whether it's picking up a new hobby, reading books outside your usual interest, taking a class, or simply paying attention to the lessons in everyday moments, the act of learning will keep you alive in ways that go beyond knowledge. It will keep you curious, driven, and passionate about everything you do. So no matter where you are in life, no matter how much you know, never stop learning, because as long as you're learning, you're growing. And as long as you're growing, you're moving towards something greater than you ever thought possible. Quitting is not an option. These words should echo in your mind every time you face a challenge, every time you think about giving up, every time life tries to knock you down. The truth is, life will always present obstacles. Sometimes they're small, other times they feel insurmountable. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not about avoiding challenges. It's about refusing to quit when the going gets tough. Because every obstacle, every failure, every setback is a test. It's a test of your character, your determination, and your willingness to keep pushing forward when everything inside you is screaming to give up. When you quit, you end the possibility of success. The only way to truly fail is to stop trying. No matter how hard it gets, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you keep going, you're still in the game. Success isn't determined by how many times you get knocked down. It's determined by how many times you get back up. And that's what makes all the difference. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem to have everything figured out. The truth is, they've faced challenges just like you. They've been knocked down, doubted themselves, wondered if they were on the right path. But the key is, they didn't quit. They pushed through the tough times even when it felt like nothing was going their way. They kept moving forward even when it felt impossible, And in doing so, they created their own opportunities. They carved out their own success. When you quit, you give up control. You surrender your power to circumstances, to people's opinions, to the fear of failure. But when you refuse to quit, you take back control. You decide how your story will end. Yes, it might take longer than expected. Yes, it might not be as smooth as you envisioned. Yes, there will be times when you question whether it's all worth it. But those are the moments when you dig deeper, when you find the strength you didn't know you had. And it's in those moments that true growth happens. No one said success would be easy. No one promised that it would come without struggle, without sacrifices, without moments where you feel like giving up. But those who make it through the toughest times are the ones who understand that the road to success isn't a straight line. It's a winding path with plenty of bumps along the way. Every challenge is a lesson, and every setback is just a setup for a comeback. It's easy to be motivated when things are going well. It's easy to feel confident when you're on a roll. But the real test comes when things aren't going your way. The real test comes when you feel defeated, when the road ahead looks dark, when it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. That's when you need to remind yourself that quitting is not an option. When you keep going, when you refuse to quit, you build resilience, you build strength, you become someone who can handle anything life throws at them because you've been through the storm and come out stronger on the other side. It's easy to compare yourself to others, to look at someone who seems to have it all together and think, why isn't my life like theirs? But what you might not realize is that they've probably faced their own struggles. They've had to fight through their own doubts. The difference is they didn't quit. They pushed through the hard times, and they're now reaping the rewards of their perseverance. Quitting doesn't just affect your goals, it affects your mindset. Every time you quit, you reinforce the belief that you're not capable, that you're not strong enough, that you can't handle it. But every time you refuse to quit, you strengthen your belief in yourself. You build a foundation of confidence that tells you, I can do this. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. The more you push through, the more you prove to yourself that you're capable of overcoming anything. The beauty of refusing to quit is that it forces you to grow. You can't stay the same and move forward. The person you were when you started isn't the person you'll become by the time you reach your goal. Every failure, every challenge, every time you feel like quitting is an opportunity to become someone stronger, smarter, and more capable. You're not just working toward a goal, you're working on yourself. And the reward for that growth is worth more than any external success. So the next time you feel like quitting, ask yourself, what would happen if I didn't? What if you kept going just a little longer? What if you pushed through the discomfort, the doubt, the fear? You might just find that you're closer to your breakthrough than you think. You might just find that the thing you were ready to give up on was the very thing that would lead to your success. Keep going, because quitting is not an option. So let me leave you with this. The road to success is not a straight path. It's filled with twists, turns, bumps, and roadblocks that will make you question whether you should keep going. But I promise you, every time you choose not to quit, every time you push through, you're one step closer to the life you want. Remember, the difference between those who make it and those who don't isn't talent or luck. It's the refusal to give up. So the next time life gets tough, when challenges arise, when you feel like quitting is the only option, remember this. You've got everything it takes to succeed. Your strength, your perseverance, your determination, all of it is within you. Just keep going, because quitting... That's not an option. Keep moving forward and you'll realize that everything you've dreamed of is within reach. Don't stop now. Keep going, because you've got this.